All right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the public meeting of the ZBA. First order of business, roll call.
Taylor Williams, Clay Sears, Marcus Bedreen,
Here.
Devin Mullen,
Here.
Eric Hamerson,
Here.
Jim McAfee,
Here.
Ashley Hunter.
Okay. First order of business is to approve the minutes from last meeting. Does anyone like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for last meeting? Okay. Minutes approved. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. All right. Next order of business is the public hearing for a variance. Make a motion to open the meeting to public forum. Is that correct? Okay. Any seconds? All right. All in favor? All right. All right, sir. We have an open forum meeting. I understand you have an application before this board. Would you like to make your statements? Yes, sir. Thank you.
So I'm Tony Roberts. I reside at 513 West Ufer, which is across the street from the subject property. I acquired this lot a couple of years ago from the estate of Cole Lewis. The property was in disrepair. The estate contacted me if I had any interest in purchasing it. My need at the time, living across the street, was really none, but it was because it was across the street from me, I opted to purchase. Since that time, I've got an elderly mom that lives in San Antonio, coming up on 80 years old, and we were designing a place for her to move from San Antonio here in the coming years. So when we started laying this out, I didn't really pay much attention to, in terms of sketching out what the site would look like. But when we started working with the architect, the rear of the property, we did several different renditions in terms of garage and on side entry. Bottom line, this was the only way to put a garage in a home on the site. And so if you'll notice, the 2-car garage and then the little bump out there on the side is for just gardening and just miscellaneous storage. And then of course the home there at the bottom is very minimal, 1,200 square feet. It's got enough moving room for a walker and so forth in the event that she needs one. So very modest layout and floor plan, tiny lot. And so anyway, that's when we came down to designing and needing what she needed. The extra 3 feet was really going to help in terms of just making that lot usable. And like I said, it's really nothing in the proposal is from a home is really outlandish and it's just a pretty basic floor plan. So in that, I think y'all seen, but my property actually extends beyond the fence, and the property line is in the bar ditch. And so it's really quite a ways off of the street in terms of how the property's laid out. And anyway, so all that to say, I'm happy with what the architect has done. The rendering that we've done is, of course, clearly, I'm a big fan of the German architecture. My home across the street tried to portray that in the front, and then we're trying to build a similar, and of course, completely different in design, but still kind of resembling some of the old character of German architecture, if you will, in town. So this is our plan on the elevation. The floor plan of 1,200 square feet is then again very modest. Master bedroom gives you enough room to kind of navigate around the furniture and the closet. Anyway, I'm pleased with the way everything came together, but it is none of that really obviously works within the 15-foot setback, and the extra 3 feet just makes enough of a difference to put all this together.
All right, sir. I appreciate your time and definitely coming to speak with us.
Yes, sir.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Roberts?
Was there a house on the property previously?
Yes, sir.
Did it extend back to within 12 feet or so of
It was actually beyond, what had happened. There was 3 buildings, and I don't know the history in terms of when they were built, but they were not all built at the same time. When the gentleman passed away, his daughter came down, an ex-wife, to list the property. At that time, they engaged a realtor. I gave them a couple of realtor names, a couple of appraiser names. And at that time, the home was deemed it just beyond repair. And when I went into it, it was really in bad shape. And what he had done was kind of add on over the years, and the drainage was not well done. The electrical, there's a lot of problems. But in that being said, had encroached over the setback, and actually, honestly, he was closer to where the fence line that I replaced was in the same line of the old fence, and there was about 3 or 4 feet off the fence, as opposed to what I have drawn on the proposal is 6.5 or 6'10". And so he had, over the years, and like I said, I don't know, if he got a permit or not, but he had encroached beyond what is on there today, or what I'm proposing. It goes back into it.
does this particular subdivision have any sort of a stipulations or covenants that require 2-car garages on each of the properties?
Not that I'm aware of.
Some do in town. I just wasn't sure about this one.
Well, and it's not in a subdivision proper per se, not that I'm aware of. I mean, it's in an area of town, but I don't know that there's a requirement for the 2-car.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Does anyone else have any questions?
City's okay this? Shelby?
Yes, thank you for that summary, Mr. Roberts.
Yes, ma'am.
That was fabulously done. And good evening, board. The city of Fredericksburg has conducted our review. The applicant is requesting a variance to construct a building within 12 feet of the property line for a property located at 512 West Ufer Street. The placement of the building would encroach into the 15-foot street side setback. The subject tract is located on a dead-end street that abuts a drainage channel located in the right-of-way between the subject property and South Louis Street. The subject property is currently vacant, as the residence that was previously on the property was demolished in 2020. And to your point, Mr. Hammerson, staff did go back and research and attempt to find an original building permit for the residence, but we were unable to locate one to determine where the original structure was. The application was reviewed, and we identified that the property is located in an R1 single-family residential zoning district, which does require a 15-foot street side setback. The property is currently vacant, and the applicant is requesting to build a residence as well as a garage on the property. And when considering variance requests, there's 3 specific criteria that staff and the Board of Adjustment have to review and find affirmative findings of fact on all of the items listed. The first item is that zoning regulations applicable to the property do not allow for reasonable use. In staff's research, we identified that the property could be utilized for the use intended by the R1 zoning district. However, the abutting drainage channel in the dead-end street and the abnormal lot shape make designing for any potential residents difficult, considering they do have to accommodate 2 off-street parking spaces for the residents, whether it's with a garage or just parking in general. The second requirement is that the plight of the owner of the property is due to unique circumstances existing on the property, and the unique circumstances were not created by the owner of the property. Staff did find that this is also the owner's situation. The vacant lot narrows greatly towards the rear of the property, with the initial width of the property being 89 feet, and it eventually narrows to 48 feet at the rear property line. And the third item is that the variance will not alter the character of the area adjacent to the property, and it will not impair the use of the adjacent conforming properties. Again, staff recognizes that this request would not alter the character of the area, as the request in question would not impair any neighboring property's ability to develop or operate as intended by the R1 zoning district. Staff recommends approval. We did receive 1 letter in response to the public hearing request, and that neighbor supports the application. Staff did include some images as well as a survey of the property. We're here to answer any questions.
Well, thank you, Shelby. Unless anybody else had any question, I only had 3 questions. Does anybody else have any questions? One, it's a simple question, I think, is this house or the areas within the historic uh, zone or anything like that, or do those rules apply to this? I know we're not making a decision on that, but does it fall in within that zone? Okay, so, and then we're making a decision on the distance from the uh, proposed building to the side of the property within 12 feet rather than 15. The size of the lot is not relevant to, that's not a matter for discussion, or it wasn't necessary to make any decision on that.
Not necessarily. I think it was more the shape of the lot, the regularity in the shape.
Right. Unless somebody has any questions.
I have another question.
Yes, sir.
Can you put the plan up? Yeah. The front of the property, what's the distance at the front of the property? See, it's more narrow at the back. So what's the distance?
86 feet, I believe. 89 feet.
No, not across. I mean, there, isn't that this line?
From Cooper Street to the front of the property, how far is the property? To the front of the building, how far is it?
They're showing 19 feet from the front, and so the city does have the ability in these areas to go with the average front setback. So that's something that the building official can actually do administratively. So it's only the side property line that we're asking for the variance for, requesting variance.
I'm talking about on the buoy side. Okay? At the front of the property, what's the difference in the two lines there? Right there. Right there.
I think it's more like 10 feet. I don't know.
So it's a lot closer at the back.
That one line that's the farthest, so the one that's right along the drainage creek is your property line. The next line south of that is a fence line, correct?
Yes, sir. This is the fence, and so the distance of the property line is 7 feet.
Okay.
But because of the drainage fence, there's the distance is 7.36 foot. So about 5 inches off.
So there's another 6 feet on the other side of the fence to the actual property line.
Probably more like 6 feet here. Probably as you get closer to the edge of the property, probably more. Yeah.
Okay.
I have actually not working that and the other. Probably 6 to 10 feet. Of course, then here you'll see the part that's the guardrail. That's another 10 or so feet. It's impossible. This is all drainage. It's probably about 4.5 foot drop off in elevation.
There's a picture.
Just outside.
Yeah.
No one, no, excuse me, were there any more questions? Okay.
Could we go back and figure this out?
Motion to go back into regular session. Or do you have a second? All in favor? Okay. We're now in a closed session. Unless there's any other questions or comments for Anna, I make a motion to have a vote.
You'll entertain a motion?
I will entertain a motion. I don't think I cannot. I would entertain a motion to take a vote.
So moved.
So
may we get clarity on what that vote is?
Thank you. So we're at the point to vote for or against this motion. For is approve and against would be deny. So all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Miss Anna, is there anything else, or I'm sorry, Miss Shelby, is there anything else you need?
Then we'll ready for adjournment.
I'd
Okay,
entertain a
well, let
motion
me
to
give you just a little heads up on what's going on with the short-term rental ordinance. Okay, there are amendments that will be proposed. They had a workshop on Tuesday, and there are some significant changes. And right now, currently, they're doing a conditional use permit for several properties to be able to obtain a STR permit. There's discussion and suggestion that that process be modified because it requires 2 public hearings and P&Z and City Council. And the switch would be to do a special exception that would go through this board. So you would be then looking at authorizing short-term rental permits. So that would be a difference. So you might want to follow along because that ball could be in your court. So I'd encourage you to follow along with those city council meetings as they come up.
Wait, can you give us additional dates?
Sure. May I ask if y'all are comfortable with Thursdays in general or just dates that the room would be available? Sure. I can research that and let you guys know what we find.
And then it just comes down to our schedules, making sure we have a quorum because we're going to need at least 4 every single time. Okay. So that'll be between us to find that date that works. Okay. Anybody else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.